Well, as you can hear, we are just days away from the general election in Washington at St. John's Episcopal Church, also known as Church of the Presidents because of its relative proximity to the White House, to speak with Julia Manchester, political reporter with The Hill, to gain her insight on the role that religion and faith have played in the 2020 campaign. Julia, welcome, and thanks for making the time.
Thank you for having me.
In the aftermath of the George Floyd killing, there were protests nationwide, including here in Washington. On the 31st of May, for example, St. John's Episcopal Church behind us had graffiti spray painted on it, and the basement was firebombed that housed a daycare center. The next day, however, federal forces cleared Lafayette Square in this area where we're standing right now, which has been renamed Black Lives Matter Plaza, so that the President of the United States could literally walk from the White House to St. John's, hold up a Bible in front of the church, and then go back to the White House. The President said it was a photo op that was, quote, very symbolic, unquote. He said that most religious leaders loved it. So, from where you sit politically, could it be that the Trump-Pence campaign saw this as a political opportunity, a moment that they could seize in the midst of the protest to extend their faith-based messaging beyond the tried and true battle line of life begins at conception to now include law and order and, by extension, race?
I think it was absolutely a defining moment of 2020. I mean, we know that President Trump has positioned himself kind of as a champion for evangelicals ever since 2016, despite the fact that he's not evangelical and he, in the past, hasn't been that religious. He doesn't attend church regularly, for example. So this was definitely a public relations move on his part. And I think you're absolutely right. He was trying to extend it to this issue of law and order enduring these protests. Now, I think President Trump thought that this would be an opportunity to show strength, but at the same time, he missed the opportunity to really make this a unifying moment. I mean, him using federal forces to clear out this area with force in front of a church without letting the diocese or the church know, that spoke volumes. And the fact that all he did was hold up a Bible, he didn't give any additional remarks, really, I think that very much spoke volumes. That being said, I don't think a lot of evangelicals or maybe evangelical voters who were on the fence about President Trump, I don't think it changed their mind at all. I think they viewed this as an opportunity, and maybe a lot of, I think a lot of religious voters I've spoken to, conservative Christians, for example, said, look, this was clearly a public relations stunt. We get it. However, President Trump is going to appoint conservative judges who are going to work to maybe chip away at Roe v. Wade, who are going to, pass or try to implement conservative principles. They're more concerned about the substance. I think they see all of the public show that President Trump likes to put on, but I think they almost ignore that and just focus on what President Trump is going to do for their community and really implementing their own beliefs.
Julia, for the past 6 months, President Trump has hammered former Vice President Biden on matters of faith. For example, most notably on a tarmac in Cleveland in August, and said, if you elect Joe Biden, he'll take away your guns and hurt the Bible, hurt God. The Biden-Harris team released a series of ads talking about, in a very soft way, the centrality of faith in the candidate's life, and particularly his Catholicism, which saw him through difficult periods in his life. 2 weeks ago, the Lincoln Project released 2 attack ads on the MAGA Church of Donald Trump, focused on the pastors who are probably the most strident in their continued support of the president. And just last week, reportedly, a bipartisan group called Not Our Faith is going to run this week, all the way up to Election Day, November 3rd, a series of ads in battleground states, making a case why people should not vote for President Trump, right, on the basis of faith and religion. With all of this swirling around us, particularly 30 days out, does it tell you that faith and religion, at least in the 2020 campaign, is more prominent compared to past campaigns and could, in fact, be a deal breaker right up to the moment that people walk into the voting booth or fill out their paper ballot before they mail it in?
Absolutely seems like faith right now is a factor in the race. I don't think it's necessarily a factor in this race more than past elections. That being said, I think President Trump, ever since 2016, he has capitalized on the evangelical vote. He has very much tried to galvanize them, and he's gotten them to turn out for him. They are some of his most loyal supporters. So President Trump makes faith an issue, absolutely. I think for Vice President Biden, he ties faith into this differently in that it ties into his message on empathy. He talks about carrying that rosary in his pocket, when he thinks of the hard times, like when he lost his first wife and daughter, or when he lost his son Beau, Hunter Biden going through his drug issues. He thinks about faith as what has gotten him through these moments. He likes to talk about others. You talk about faith with other voters that's how he connects with them. So, in terms of the Roman Catholic element of this, this has been an issue over the past couple of weeks because we know that Amy Coney Barrett, President Trump's Supreme Court nominee, is Roman Catholic, and we saw a lot of Republicans saying, look, there is a chance that Democrats are going to use her faith against her. And you saw that Democrats very much laid off of that in their attacking Amy Coney Barrett, in questioning and such. They did not push her on her faith or even Roe v. Wade. They pushed her on health care in particular and protecting Obamacare. So they know that faith for them is a very sensitive subject. They know that Roman Catholics, on average, tend to vote more conservatively than they do democratically. And I think they also know that Joe Biden is making inroads with some of these Roman Catholic voters, in particular older Roman Catholic voters, maybe in communities in places like Florida where you see Joe Biden leading with seniors. So Democrats are walking a very fine line, but it makes sense that Vice President Biden would use this for getting his message about empathy across. President Trump, Vice President Pence also likes to invoke his faith, but for President Trump, this is much more political, and it makes sense because that white evangelical vote did help deliver him the White House in 2016.
It did indeed, and while we're on the subject of the white evangelical vote, let's talk about QAnon for a bit. I mean, QAnon, according to some mainstream reporting, credible reporting, articles in the Religious News Service, and other sources, indicate that QAnon has made inroads in certain circles of evangelical Protestant Christianity, right? But not all. Do we have a sense, or do you have a sense, based on your political reporting, why?
I think in particular, we're trying to figure out why as we speak, because we know that some of the beliefs that QAnon espouses are completely untrue and very bizarre to a lot of people hearing them for the first time. That being said, we know that it's making inroads with many suburban women in particular. Not a large number, but we know that there are suburban women who are listening to this message. Suburban women in swing states like Pennsylvania, for example. So when President Trump, sits there in a town hall last week, like he did with Savannah Guthrie on NBC News, he essentially said he wouldn't full out denounce QAnon. He didn't necessarily endorse them, but he picked out apart. He says, I think pedophilia is bad too. So it was almost like he was sending a signal, maybe inadvertently, to those supporters, but he wouldn't flat out denounce it and move on. It kind of turned into this guessing game with him. So, I don't think this is definitely a politically calculated move on President Trump's part. I don't think we know enough about QAnon to show how many QAnon voters would, sway the election and such. But like with other past controversial groups, I think President Trump is always reluctant to denounce them if he knows he has support within these groups.
This is a campaign unlike any other. I mean, it's been fought, and people talk about it on three fronts: the pandemic economy, and the racial reckoning in America. But given what we've talked about today, could we add a fourth front that could stand on its own: religion and faith?
Absolutely, and you're seeing faith used as an attack measure. I mean, I think it's hard for President Trump to attack Vice President Biden on the issue of faith, though he has in the past, because Vice President Biden, we've known this for decades, is a devout Roman Catholic. In fact, Vice President Biden has had to answer questions within his own party about his Roman Catholic beliefs, from progressives asking questions about, what do you feel about abortion or same-sex marriage? And we obviously know that Biden falls into the more progressive Roman Catholic camp on that issue. But I would say it's easier for Vice President Biden to look at someone like President Trump and lob some attacks on his faith, maybe, or pinpoint him in that area, because we know that President Trump doesn't go to church religiously. We know that religion seems, at least publicly, has become kind of a new thing for him, if you will. He could, I can't speak for his private life, but we do know that it seems that in 2015, when he announced the presidency and going to 2016, he became very close to this evangelical community. And I think he did have ties to that community before, but there was clearly a political calculus, which makes sense because this is a very loyal voting bloc, and he was able to galvanize this voting bloc. So I think it's easier for Vice President Biden to accuse President Trump of being disingenuous in terms of faith on the campaign trail than it is for President Trump to accuse Biden of that.
Right. It's interesting. I'm trying to recall as I was listening to you. I think I saw a clip where the president was running in 2016, and he said at one point at an outdoor rally that I'm Presbyterian. It doesn't get any more mainstream than that, folks. Now, I've paraphrased the president, but it's something like that. And so that is true. He's self-identified, at least in that circle, and perhaps it pushed himself more over to the evangelical element of Christianity. The interesting thing about all of this, I guess, is that when you add it up on Election Day, and this is your political question, this is your moment, right? And let's just assume that the election is closer. Right. I mean, really, 2,000, right? Close, right? That's what we're talking about here. And let's assume that Pennsylvania, with its 20 electoral votes and its large Catholic and evangelical voting blocks, right, decides the fate of the election, right? If that is the case, could we then rightly proclaim that Pennsylvania would be, along religious lines, the Florida of 2000?
If you're looking at religious lines, absolutely, I would say that. However, I would say that, and maybe I'm biased because I'm a native Floridian, but, Pennsylvania, at least in polling, it seems that Biden does have a pretty, I wouldn't say significant, but he has a sizable lead over President Trump as of now. Now, we know that 2016 told us a very different story about the polls, so there's obviously some skepticism. I would say that in a state like Florida, where you also have evangelicals and also Roman Catholic Hispanics and Latin Americans, it could be a similar situation there, where you have the Cuban American vote, for example, tending to be very conservative, but then you have the Puerto Rican American vote, for example, tending to be more liberal. You also have a lot of mega churches in Florida, a lot of evangelicals there as well, so that could play into all of this as well. And I think the polls in Florida, at least right now, are a bit closer than they are in Pennsylvania. But I think Pennsylvania, just like it was in 2016, will play a crucial role in that road to 270.
Julia, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.